All right, what is going on, everyone, and welcome back to another Black Desert video. So today I wanted to answer one of the questions that I get a lot of, whether it's on my Discord or YouTube comments, is the best grind spots for people around 300 to 350 AP, which is, I would consider mid-game. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is because, one, a lot of people asked, and two, I thought it'd be a good idea to update it. So I've tested all of these spots over the past, 2 months. I've also looked at Garmoth, took the data from there, and also talked to other people. So it's a shared data pool from a lot of this stuff, and I wanted to talk about all of these. So yeah, in 10 spots that I've grinded, this is what I found would make the most silver. And the way we're going to do it is just kind of talk about it through here and see what it's all about. So going from the lowest AP, starting at around 310, I believe, or 300. We're going to talk about some and then go up to 350. All right, so I made a list, and number one at the 300 spot would probably be down in the Calpheon area, starting with Hex Sanctuary. Now, keep in mind, I'm taking the number from here, but what you would do is view the total stats and then try to meet the AP requirement over here. So Hex is a 300, 390 spot, and around 1100 to at least grind here from the recommended. Now this spot has been tweaked multiple times over the years. I've seen it at its high point, I've seen it at its low point, but I think Hex Elvia is generally a good spot because the mobs respawn really quickly. It's a lot of fast-paced action, and there's a lot of groups that you just go from point A to B to C, and then it just goes by really quickly. Plus the chance of rare drops and you being able to get the Blessed Soul Fragment. I believe distos drop more regularly, not that they're like super high in price, but you get a lot of crystallized despairs. This is where a majority of your silver per hour is coming from. You do get a bunch of Capra stones and the trash loot from, the special events, which you should be getting, I would say maybe like 3 an hour, where you get the Giga Gourd or the Hex Marie boss or the Giant and everything. Yeah, it's a bunch of loot, and the spot's overall pretty good. So I'd recommend checking this out if you are just breaking 300 AP, and try it out yourself. Next, I want to recommend Upper Sakraya. Now this one would actually be surprising because this is one of those spots where it used to be very terrible, and then they made the update where lower and upper actually got buffed. So this spot is also another 1100 or a 300 AP spot that I think is pretty solid to grind now. Also, if you're going for the Rich Merchant Ring, which a lot of people should be going for at some point because it's just really good, you get the paints from here, and you also have a higher chance of getting the full drop from here. If you're going for the Sakraya piece, you are grinding upper for the ring piece. I know it says you can get it at lower, but let's be real, it's at upper. So yeah, Devos drop at a pretty solid rate. Tungrads, I mean, they're still worth something, so that's good. And then you get a bunch of other stuff. Sealed black magic crystals are decent. Limbo boxes give you at least 2 of them, so it's like getting 1 bill an hour at minimum for a limbo box, and then you get a bunch of Capris dust and then Abyssal Essence. So yeah, good 300 AP spot, and I would say this is about under like 1.8 to 2 bill an hour, assuming you don't get a limbo box, and if you do, you get more. And decent spot nowadays. Before it wasn't. So if you watched an older video that's like, oh, this spot sucks, it did suck, and then now it's okay. Next spot I would recommend is down in Calpheon. We are going to be talking about Quint Hill. Now this one is a 320, and it's not bad, but some people might not like this spot because it's fewer mobs, but they're powerful. So in Black Desert, we're all used to fast-paced combat, and this spot is kind of like the opposite of that, where there are like 3 different packs that you cycle. Think of like a triangle. You're going from A, B, and C, right? And then go back to A again. Now, this spot is actually good because the trash loot is worth a lot, but you also get a lot of crystallized spares. You know how we talked about Hex Sanctuary? It's kind of like this, but the trash loot is worth a lot. So it's kind of those low-key good spots, but you just have to know the pace of the grind spot is a little bit lower than the usual. But aside from that, the loot table is kind of the same as Hex, but a little slower paced. And the silver is pretty solid, I would say about 2 bill an hour, roughly. A lot of your silver is coming from crystallized despairs, once again, but you also have a chance of getting a limbo box, which you didn't, or you weren't able to get years ago. Now you are. Next spot I want to talk about is down in Madaya. We're going to be talking about... Wait, hold on. Is it Madaya? Or is it Valencia? Yeah, it's Valencia, technically, I guess. Dekia 1 Kadri. Now, this spot around, I would say just under 1400. I would say this spot and Dekia Crescent Shrine are very similar. I personally like Kadri simply because you just don't have to go out of your way. To give you an idea, Kadri is down here. Crescents is down here. And so one is in the desert you have to go to, which is, you know, a little bit more annoying. But this one is a little bit easier in terms of mechanics. So what you do is, it's a tower spot, but the one mechanic you have to worry about is it turns like the circle into a red and white, and then basically you stand in the white and then you pull everything there, whereas the red half will get like bursted. It's not deadly, it's just that's the only real mechanic that is. Whereas Crescent, you have to find a debuff tower, kill that, and it's kind of like high mobility, whereas this one isn't. But in terms of silver, they're roughly the same. The loot table is kind of the same. That's why I recommend Dekia Kadri. And yeah, high chance of getting a very expensive Kadri ring, also Debo's, Limbo box, and well, these scrolls aren't really worth much anymore these days, but the silver per hour plus black magic crystals, at least here on NA, are still max price, are pretty solid as well. So yep, under 1400 or 330 AP, that's what I'd recommend for this one. You could try Crescents, you might actually like it more, but it's just a little bit more out of the way. And yeah, for the same amount of silver, you just want to do the easier one, in my opinion. All right, so next we are going into, I think, 340 AP and up. So I wrote it down, but I'm not sure if it's like in the exact AP order going up. So let's just talk about it. Down in the Kama Sylvia area, we're going to be talking about Dekia Ash Forest. This one, Dekia Ash 1 and 2 are both very solid. I'd recommend 2 if you can do it over 1, just because the loot table is a little bit better. If you're going for the merchant ring piece directly, you know, just do the highest one you can grind comfortably, and you just make some more silver along the side of it. Now with Dekia Ash, if you're comparing 1 to 2, the loot table for 2 drops the all evasion and all DR artifacts, which are, you know, straight up 10 bill minus tax. And then it also drops the 4 crystals. Now, the only one that really matters is the Stalwart Fortitude, just because that one is the one that sells. Knockdown, CC resistance is the most powerful CC resist you can get. But if you're just trying to get it for the 5 AP, it doesn't really matter which one. Most people will need Crystal Precise Destructions at some point to upgrade into the Void one. Stalwart Fortitude is always used. These two, I mean, you know, it's not really as important in most grind spots, but you know, it's nice to have them. You get a bunch of Dekia fragments, which will probably always be around max price. Merchant ring piece and the silver. So I would say, you know, with average RNG, 0 artifacts, and all you're getting is mostly like crystals, Dekia fragments, and then Capris and loot, probably around 3 bill an hour. So I think that's pretty solid. Okay, so the next one I want to talk about is down in the Morning Light. So we're going to be talking about 2 different spots, Dokubi Forest and also Fortunate Golden Pig King. We'll talk about the difference between these 2 as well. But Dokubi Forest, this is like the mid game spot for crystals. whereas Honglim is the entry, and then Golden Pig Cave is more of the end game, which, you know, I would say if you these are so close together to the point where if you're roughly in the same spot of like 1400 or like 1450 to 1490, I'd probably just try the higher end spot if you can, which is Golden Pig Cave. But Dokubi is a very chill spot. It's a tower spot as well, and if you've watched videos over the past like couple of years, people are saying it's very mid or underwhelming, which it was. I did a video on day one when it released, and then this spot has been buffed multiple times to the point where the crystal drop rate is a lot higher. So yeah, overall trash is decent. You get a lot more crystals than Hong Lim, and unfortunately the faint origins don't really sell too well, but I mean, you're here for the crystals. Now next we have Fortunate Golden Pig Cave, which is like the higher end of the two Golden Pig Cave spots, like Fortunate and then regular. So next we have Fortunate Golden Pig Cave. Now there's two different ones. What does this mean and why are they different? So Fortunate Cave is open at a certain time of the day. It's random, no one really knows. There'll be an NPC to node manager that's like, yeah, you can go in, and then you go in here. So the difference is you can get all the crystals. This has the highest drop rate of all the different wand and bond crystals you can get. Plus, you can get the Golden Pig token, which you can exchange at the very bottom, and then you can exchange it for like whatever you want here. So it's always nice to have that one. Whereas the regular cave only drops the red one, so people who are looking for the crystals that never did the Karazad exchange, you can get those as well as Essence of Dawn. But I mean, the Essence of Dawn, you can convert these 1 or 10 to each other anyway. And so that's good. And I don't know why they have a different AP requirement when they're like the same thing, but it is what it is. I would just recommend doing the Fortunate. It always makes more silver across the board over regular. And yeah, so if you're targeting any specific one, like any other color that's not red, do Fortunate. And if you're doing red only, I would probably still grind Fortunate, and just in case, because I mean, you just get more silver in general and you can put an order on it. So yeah, there's that. So yeah, those are the two spots I'd recommend for Morning Light. These are both very decent nowadays in 2026 at least. And the next spot I wanted to talk about is in the Ulakita area, which is, I guess let's talk about Tungrad first, or let's see, which one is lower? Okay, so Tungrad is 330. People will say this spot sucks, but I disagree. I think this spot is actually really high up there, simply because, you know, one, I think it depends on your class as well and how fast you can clear. But also the loot table for everything is just really high. Not only can you get the telescope pieces, origins don't really sell instantly. They will sell eventually because everyone needs fail stacks. But also you get a higher chance of limbo boxes. Like I'm pretty sure like I get more here than at Dark Seekers, but it's probably just the amount of density. Like more enemies you kill, the higher chance you get it across the board in general. So if you're targeting like Debos for some odd reason, this is a good spot for that one. Trash loot, pretty decent. Agris multiplies that significantly higher. But yeah, the Tungrad Ruins I think is good despite what other people say, and will always be decent. Next we have Dark Seekers. Now this one, the loot table kind of looks like Tungrad, except you get a Kabua's artifact, which is currently max price. You also have a chance of dropping flamed and Kabua fragments, which are also going to max price. And so, yeah, when these are at a high value, the amount of silver you get at Dark Seekers is pretty good. Plus, if you're on NA, this is probably the #2 spot to get sealed black magic crystals or magical shards. So this multiplies it very highly, and then the chance of getting a Kabua is pretty good. And all the other like limbo boxes, the fragments, origins, extremely good. So I think if you can grind Dark Seekers over Tungrad, it's definitely worth it. But it is also 340 and almost 1500, so I still think Dark Seekers is probably in my top 5. Even like it competes with some of the higher end spots that are more for endgame, but I think Dark Seekers is just really good, so people should try it. So one thing I would recommend to people is you might see videos or streamers doing a 3-pull rotation. Normally, I would say your average player can do, like, you just go to 2 packs, like left and right, and then you go back and forth. The 3 is for faster classes, kind of like a triangle. You go like A, B, and C, and then repeat. So it really just depends on your class. If you can only do two pulls, that's fine. You're still making a lot of silver. If you do 3, you're just making more silver. But yeah, ultimately, Dark Seekers and Tongue Red are very solid spots. I'd recommend it. Also, going for the telescope is one of the more used treasure items, in my opinion. So of the 4, like the archaeologist map and the telescope, I think I use those the most, aside from the merchant ring, which is just a passive one. But like the usables of the 3, like arc map, telescope, and the compass, I use the telescope and the map like actually every day. Now, the last spot I want to talk about is Orzekia. This spot, you kind of have to go out of your way a little bit because it's down in, you know, the Ataraxian area. You go down there, but it's a very solid spot just because it's one of the most amount of silvers. Plus, I believe it's getting buffed next week, where the demo drop rates are going to be like 20 to 30% higher along with the endgame spots, and this one just got included in it, so that's good. Also, you get a bunch of Gem of the Voids, which you could turn into like the Akrod crystals, and those are endgame crystals as well, so these will always be max price for at least another year, I think. And yeah, that'll be pretty good. You don't really get too many sealed black magic crystals here. I did a video test, and you get 1 per boss per, like, what is it, power level or whatever, if you've ever grinded this boss, like power level 1, 2, 3, and then boss. So it's not really too many, maybe about like 15, 20 an hour, but you get Gem of the Voids on a regular, and you also get a bunch of belts and earrings, which will be boosted in the future. So yeah, this is the most amount of silver. I don't think this spot in particular is the most fun, just because it's not like exciting compared to just blasting through Dark Seekers or Tongue Red, but it is the most amount of silver, and you know, it's always going to be good. So with that said, that has been the top 10 spots I'd recommend for people around 300 to 350 AP. If you enjoyed this video, let me know. Also, if you want to see how these grind spots are done, check the link in the description. I have videos of like full grind hours of me doing all those spots I'd recommended and talked about, so you guys can watch that as well. And if you enjoyed it, maybe we'll do one for newer players, like people who are 250, like fresh out of seasons, to 300 AP, and then people who are, you know, 350 to max gear, which is really just Adania. But ultimately, I think this one is going to help the most amount of people, simply because that's where most people are at in this game, around 300 to 350. And yeah, that's all I want to talk about. So if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Would love to see you come back, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.